I taught myself to do all the things, me and, Jenny on YouTube, watching tutorials and learning things that way and figuring it out as I go, and it's been a journey. My dear friend Zelma, we met while I was working at a small quilt shop in LaGrange. She invited me my first year, paid for my trip, the whole thing. So this was my first experience with a quilt community and getting to build that relationship. So that was really neat, awesome experience for me, getting to come here the first time 4 years ago. I think it's really neat. It's great to finally be surrounded by people who see the love and quality in quilts. And outside of that quilt community, people don't really think about that. They don't think about the work that goes into it, or how you pour your soul into a quilt that you've chopped all these pieces of fabric up to sew them back together a different way. They don't see the art and the beauty in that. I was about 6 months pregnant with my youngest. I was 20 years old. We were at a tractor show, and there was this little booth of quilts and things like that, and they were not well made, not cute fabrics. But there was this one John Deere quilt that was there, and at the time my husband he was a John Deere tractor tech, so he worked doing all that. And there was this little John Deere quilt, and I wanted it so bad. And so he came over, like I was showing him the quilt, and he was like, I think you could do better. So I borrowed a machine from a friend and gave it a go. And then as soon as I discovered like good quality fabrics, it was over. I was hooked.
So did you start quilting right after that, or?
I did. About that time, I taught myself to do all the things, me and, Jenny on YouTube, watching tutorials and learning things that way and figuring it out as I go, and it's been a journey. It's been a 15-year long journey at this point. Okay, so once I figured out the aspect of quilting and discovered all of the gorgeous designer fabrics, I decided to start a little quilt shop. Crazy person. So I was doing crib sheets and baby quilts and things like that, and we'd show up to farmers markets, and I dove right in. There was no holding back at that point. So I did that for probably 6 years, and then I just kind of got tired of it. Wanted to sew more for myself. I've done a lot of custom quilts. I've done a lot of memory quilts. T-shirt quilts are the absolute worst, in my opinion. All 3 of my children know how to quilt.
All 3 of them?
Yeah.
So how old are your children?
My children are now 18, 15, and 14.
Oh wow, so they've created their own quilts?
They have made their own quilts as gifts to parents, grandparents, or pillows, or anything like that. I mean, teachers' gifts, that was a big one for a while too. Every year we were they were each doing a quilted pillow for a teacher.
Nice.
So my oldest joined a couple of art contests with school and submitted a quilt. And I think that kind of reached a point where they're like, there's no way a kid made this. I mean, they've been doing this since they were little. They've always known me to be there, even in the middle of the night, because that's usually when I got to do it. I'm always there sewing. So they would be under my feet, they would be behind me, they'd be in and out of the room, they would be going to bed to the steady sound of the machine going. That has never changed for them. So even now as teenagers, when I know they have to get up in the morning, I'm like, sorry guys, I'm almost done. And they're like, Mom, you've done this our entire lives. As far as interest goes, my kids are not that interested in doing it steadily, but whenever they find an opportunity that they see that a quilt is like the gift for that person, then they will buckle down in the sewing room and put something out. I love that it's a opportunity to slow down and focus on one thing at a time. And even though it's repeated steps a lot of time, there's still something very therapeutic in that.
What part is not your favorite part?
I think my least favorite part of quilting was, or has been, when people ask for a custom order and it is just crazy, crazy fabrics that do not go together and are not meant to be in a quilt. That's probably the biggest one. Stick with it, be consistent, press after every step. Press and trim as much as you can between every step. That's literally what quilting is, because you will reach a point where you're like, oh my God, not this again. I don't want to keep doing this. But to get through it, you have to keep doing it. You have to keep going. The imperfections in a quilt, the character that it has, that's the beauty of it. My kids each have a quilt that is their quilt. My youngest called hers her BB, and she still has it in her closet. She is 14 years old now, and BB went everywhere with us. If she got left at a grandparent's house, you bet we had to turn around, drive that hour and a half back, because it was always when we were halfway home, to get BB, because she could not sleep without her. I quilt because it brings me joy. That's what it all boils down to, is something that I cut apart and sew together and get to keep and cherish, and the kids will roll up in it, the dog's gonna roll on it, and somebody's probably gonna puke on it at some point, but it's just a staple in our home, that joy. My name is Andi, and this is why I quilt.